Thank you for coming early. Thank you for allowing us to get started on time. And I will call the meeting to order. And as we always do, I'll ask the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Dan Trabucco, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, to the republic, a nation, God, visible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Once again, we welcome you to the special session of the Pembroke Town Meeting. The chair is satisfied that the warrant has been properly posted, so we'll dispense with the reading of the warrant. As I mentioned, we have a quorum of 150 to start the meeting. Once the meeting begins, the quorum requirement is 100. And as I mentioned when we discussed the articles with the selectmen last week, that there aren't a lot of controversial items, which is good, but nonetheless, they're very important. So it's good that you're here and we can get this done. A couple of announcements I want to make. First of all, thanks to the media that actually covers the town of Pembroke, which includes PAC Television, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, but this is being broadcast live on Channel 15 and streamed online. And if you really want to watch it again, you can do that just to go on the PAC Television channel. As always, the Key Club is out there providing us with sugar and caffeine and other goodies. And I'm reminded that I think don't know what the Key Club does. They are a student-led service organization that aims to promote leadership, character building, and community service among high school students. It's part of the Kiwanis International Family of Organizations. They organize and participate in a wide range of service projects and fundraising events, including this one at Town Meeting, which Carol Dodge started decades ago. Some examples of Key Club events this year have included selling Christmas trees at the Herring Run to raise money for scholarships, packaging meals for those in need at the outreach program, and volunteering at events like the Fish Fry and Pembroke Celebrates. Speaking of Celebrates, a fun group of Pembroke citizens is getting ready once again to put on the Pembroke tree lighting. It is a Saturday this year, not a Sunday. It's Saturday, December 2nd, from 2 to 5 on the Memorial Park in front of the First Church. It is a fabulous free holiday event with roasting marshmallows over fire pits, cookie decorating, and more. And at 5 p.m., Santa flies in on a fire. Well, I guess he isn't flying in if he's on a fire truck, but he's coming on a fire truck. And Kathleen Keegan is out there. They're looking for volunteers, donations, and sponsors. I'm also asked to remind you that the Firehouse Food Pantry Vendor Craft Fair is this coming Saturday from 10 to 3 at the Knights of Columbus on School Street, Route 139, and also the Council on Aging, Friends of the Council on Aging. And as the chair gets older, the chair appreciates the Council on Aging more and more. The Friends are out there raising money, selling candy, raising money for the community center, and we'll talk about the community center in just a moment. Just quickly for those, I ask that if you are, I expect that the business of the meeting will be conducted fairly quickly. If you wish to speak, and you are welcome to do so, we urge you to do so. Amendments are always in order. Just to come up to either microphone on either side. If for some reason it's difficult for you to get to the microphone, just raise your hand and we'll make sure we get the microphone to you. But with the exception of a point of order, you have to speak from the microphone, and we ask that you just identify yourself on your street, and that's for the town clerk to record meeting minutes, and it's also for the press that's out there that may wish to quote you. And if we do have a standing vote, once again, I ask, as we have at past meetings, that if in the town bylaw reads that in the first instance of any vote, we do a standing vote. Not going to do that for every single vote. So if it's a routine matter, we'll do a show of hands. But other than that, we'll do, we'll do a voice vote. The town says that in the first instance, there should be a show of hands, but we won't do that if it's a routine question. But if someone questions the vote or it's too close for the chair to call, then we'll do a standing vote, and you will not be counted unless you are seated in the seats. That's a rule we adopted last year because there were some difficulties and confusion about people standing in the back, whether they were counted or not. We're not going to use the cafetorium this year. We do have a visitor section over there, so those good folks over there, we welcome the visitors, and they will not be counted. And everyone have a copy of the warrant. If you do not, raise your hand, and we'll make sure the tellers get you a copy of the warrant. And I think that's all the business. The chair wants to welcome a couple of new members to the right of the chair. Your left is the hardworking members of the advisory committee, and we have a new member since last meeting, and that's Steve and Pat. Steve, raise your hand. We welcome you. And since we were here last, we have a new member of the Board of Selectmen, which is to my left, Richard Flynn. And Richard, we welcome you to Pembroke, and you're certainly no stranger to boards of selectmen, but we're happy to have you here and participating in this meeting. So before we get to business, and we have the lottery system, as you know, our high-tech ping pong balls here. The chair usually does this, but because we have a short amount of business and wanted to take advantage of captive, interested audience, there are two questions that always comes to the chair's mind driving through the center of town, and I know there are probably questions that come to your mind as well. Number one, will Route 36 be ever finished in our lifetime? And number two, the community center looks great, how's it coming? So we've asked Town Manager Bill Chenard to give a very brief, quick update on those two projects and a couple of other things that will be of interest. And so the chair recognizes Town Manager Bill Chenard.
Hello? They're great. Wow. This is awesome. I was very nervous about a quorum, so thank you everyone for coming out. As you know, this is the legislative body of the town, and except for grants and a couple other exceptions, the only body that it can appropriate funds. So thank you very much, everyone. I want to take a moment. I got a bunch of project updates, but I want to thank the department heads for everything that they do. They're all here this evening. I won't make them stand up because they'll all be mad at me tomorrow, but if you see them in town hall or about town, because not all of them work in town hall, thank them for everything they do. They do a remarkable job on a very, very, very tight budget. So thank you guys. So on to project updates. I too get asked on a regular basis, what's happening here, what's happening there. So I've detailed some of the big ones, and I'm going to give you those updates. First, the community center. Remarkable. We got incredibly lucky that our owner's project manager and our general contractor are just top-notch. We are on schedule, and we are slightly under budget at this point, and I am super excited about that. So we are anticipating the building will open in the spring of 2024, probably in the April or May timeframe. Super excited. Elevators about to go in. However, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, insulation, all of the roof, the exterior walls with one small exception are all complete. The building is completely watertight at this point. The fiber optic cable and data were pulled this week. The data racks are in place, were put in last week, and some of the interior walls, or many of the interior walls, probably about 70% of the interior walls are now have sheetrock on them. So it is absolutely a phenomenal building. It exceeds my expectations. I obviously came in midstream with the community center as a new town manager, so kudos to those who did the planning on that project. Super, super job. Route 36, yes, it will be complete. As you know, that was intended to be a 4-year project. At this point, we are a year ahead of schedule. So it will be complete. It's about 70% complete, just under 70% complete today. The sidewalk and the curbing work continues and will continue. Driveway apron and the grading work is also ongoing, and with good weather through the fall and winter, we will continue to be well ahead of schedule on that. We will continue. Obviously, that's a state project and the town doesn't control it 100%, but you know, if we get bad weather, we will have to close the roadway for snow removal and other events where you can't have plates in the road or other events like that. So, Congress Street Culvert, for those of you who live over there, I know the castings are there. I know they were delivered this week, and that project and that roadway will open, is likely to open before Thanksgiving. There'll be some final work that will need to be completed after Thanksgiving, and likely the final plantings will be done next spring because we'll be into the cold weather season where you can't do that type of work. However, it's there. They're working on it now, and 3 to 4 weeks, the roadway will be open through to Mary Lou's. So those of you who cut down Congress Street to go get your coffee, you'll be back at it. So, Herring Run Culvert, this one isn't a good news project. There's been a delay in the precast delivery, and so it's now anticipated for those precast culverts to be delivered in late November or early December. Site work will begin on November 13th, about 2 weeks from today, to start removing some of the old concrete, set some of the new bases in. However, we had anticipated that project would be well underway by now. So that's unfortunately, we're at the mercy of the concrete factory that's doing the castings. West Elm project, this is not a town project. This is an Eversource gas project, so we don't control the schedule. We don't control the project per se. And so it is ongoing. It will be ongoing for some time, and that project is from Oldham all the way to Dwelly. So I'll say they're getting there, even though it's been ongoing for several months. Public safety complex, obviously we haven't broken ground on that. That's still in the design phases. I'll have future updates on my weekly updates and the updates I do for the select board on that project. And then the Oldham water main abandonment. We went out to bid, the bids came in, we selected the low bidder, and the contracts are issued, and that will be ongoing in the near future. So, thank you, everyone. Stay and vote, and let's get this thing done.
Thank you, Bill. One item of business. There are some items, probably none tonight, but just in case, there are some items that sometimes need a 2/3, and the chair always asks for your permission to allow us to the chair to declare a 2/3, so we don't have to have a standing vote every time we need a 2/3. And if there's any confusion or any doubt about whether a 2/3 has been achieved, the chair will always ask for a standing vote. But nonetheless, this is a routine item. So Mr. Tribuco moves that if a 2/3 vote is required by statute, the moderator is authorized to declare a 2/3 vote if, after a show of hands, the moderator determines that the 2/3 majority has been reached. Provided, however, that if a vote so declared is immediately questioned by 7 or more voters, the moderator shall verify the 2/3 majority by ordering a standing count of the yeas and nays. Is there a second? Motion's been seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. And we are ready to go to the ping pong box barrel. Article 2 is the first item of business. Chair would also mention that the tellers, in case we do have a standing vote, have already been sworn in. And the chair recognizes Sandy Beaton from Advisory Committee.
All right, we got it. Move that the town vote to transfer $120,000 from the water enterprise retained earnings to supplement funds previously appropriated for the fiscal year 2024 water enterprise budget voted under Article 3 of the May 2023 annual town meeting to reduce the amount to be raised through water rates for the fiscal year 2024.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded by Sandy Beaton from Advisory. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it. I declare it so voted. Article 5. And the chair recognizes Stephen Pat.
Move that the town vote to accept the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5N, for the purposes of authorizing the Select Board to establish a program to allow veterans, as defined by General Laws, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 43rd, or a spouse of a veteran, in the case where the veteran is deceased or has a service-connected disability, to volunteer to provide services to the town of Pembroke in exchange for a reduction of said veteran's real property tax obligation, which shall be in addition to any exemption or abatement to which that person is otherwise entitled, provided such reduction shall not exceed $1,500 in a given tax year. This program shall take effect for fiscal 2025.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? This will take effect fiscal year 2025, which would be July 1st of 2024. Is that right, Jeannie? And by the way, congratulations to our not-so-new, but Chief Assessor Appraiser, Jeannie Gigliotti. The motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? This is a similar program that's already in existence for seniors. Is that correct? Applies to veterans. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it unanimous. Next item is Article 3. Chair recognizes Stephen Walsh from Advisory.
Move that $239,500 is appropriated for the capital project described in the table contained in Article 3 of the special town meeting warrant in the amount set forth in the table for each such project. And to meet this appropriation, $239,500 shall be transferred from free cash.
Is there a second? Motion's pretty self-explanatory. The article is self-explanatory. Any discussion? Seeing none, takes a majority vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. Article 1. Chair recognizes Tim Landy from Advisory.
Move that the town vote to increase the total appropriation for the town's fiscal year 2024 operating budget as voted by the 2023 spring annual town meeting under Article 2 by the sum of $80,000. Said sum to be distributed as follows. To supplement the town manager's budget by adding $10,000 to fund drainage improvements on Oldham Street, and to supplement the school department budget by adding $70,000, with the above budget supplements to be raised by transferring $80,000 from free cash. And further, move that the town transfer $120,000 from free cash to fund the town's fiscal year 2024 operating budget, thereby reducing the amount to be raised through taxation as voted under Article 2 of the 2023 spring annual town meeting.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion by Tim Landy from Advisory, please raise your hand. Opposed? The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. And that leaves, last but not least, Article 4. These are the CPC funded projects that we have virtually at every town meeting in recent memory since the CPC was instituted, both annual and special. We will treat each recommendation as a separate article. Chair recognizes for purposes of recommendation A, Chair Advisory, Linda Peterson.
Mr. Moderator, move that the sum of $43,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Resources Reserve for historic preservation purposes, and that the funds be granted to the town manager for the purpose of installing a septic system at the Bryanville Meeting House, thereby preserving and rehabilitating this historic resource.
there a second? No. 45,000. I'm sorry.
45,000.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Opposed? The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. Recommendation B, Article 4, Chair recognizes.
Move that the sum of $124,175 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund Recreational Resources Reserve for recreational purposes, and that said funds be granted to the town manager for the purpose of making improvements to boat ramps at town beaches, thereby preserving, rehabilitating, and restoring land for recreational use.
There a second? Chair, your second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. Recommendation C, Article 4, Chair recognizes Linda Peterson.
Move that the sum of $75,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund Recreational Resources Reserve Fund, and that said funds be granted to the town manager for the purpose of developing a Parks and Recreation master plan to preserve, rehabilitate, and restore land for recreational use.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on recommendation C? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. Recommendation D, Article 4, Chair recognizes Linda Peterson.
Move that the sum of $47,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund Recreational Resource Reserve, and that said funds be granted to the town manager for the purpose of making improvements to parking and drainage at the ball field and playground improvements at Magoon Baseball Field, thereby preserving, rehabilitating, and restoring land for recreational use.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on recommendation D? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. Recommendation E, Article 4, Chair recognizes Linda Peterson.
Move that the sum of $10,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund Open Space Resources Reserve, and that said funds be granted to the town manager for the purpose of funding an engineering assessment and preliminary plans to install or improve bathrooms at Largate Preserve and Birch Street Playground, thereby preserving, rehabilitating, and restoring land for recreational use.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. Recommendation F, Article 4, the Chair recognizes Linda Peterson.
Move that the sum of $25,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Fund for the Recreational Resources Reserve, and that funds be granted to the town manager for the purpose of funding engineering design and plans for fencing and field improvements at Howard Bizanson Field at 128 Center Street, thereby preserving, rehabilitating, and restoring land use for recreational use.
On this matter, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The ayes have it, and I declare it so voted. The Chair once again wants to recognize that 163 of you came out to vote and give up an hour of your evening to conduct the vital town business. And I believe, the Chair believes we have probably, at 7:31, probably have set a new world record since 1712. So with that, Linda Peterson moves that the meeting stand adjourned. Is there a second? Those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.